Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Kay Cote, and I am your host for today's episode. And today I have Walter Mcclellan, CEO and founder of Toast Entertainment, as my guest. We're going to be learning about his business, his journey to business ownership, best practices that he's learned along the way, as well as some challenges that he's faced to give you that inside look to what it's like to own and operate a business. If this is your first time on our channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notified when we drop episodes like this. Welcome, Walter. Thanks for being on the show. It's great to meet you.
You too, Kate. Thank you so much for having me. This is fun.
Of course. Well, I'm excited to dive in, especially we're talking all things entertainment business. So that's really going to be fun. Tell me, first of all, I'd love to learn a bit about you. Tell me about yourself.
Well, I founded Toast Entertainment in 2010 here in Austin. I started out as a solo DJ with nothing but a MySpace page to date me a little bit and a few Craigslist ads. I was just dreaming out of getting out of the restaurant industry. At the time, I was like waiting tables at Outback Steakhouse and just wanted to do something I was passionate about. And I knew I loved DJing. I'd been doing it for a while. The first couple years we started were very slow. I had no idea what I was doing, but then once business began to take off for several years, we doubled and sometimes even tripled our revenue annually. As we grew, we started really like expanding our services to become what we are now, a true one-stop shop for weddings and events, adding photography services, videography, coordination, photo booths, and different luxury enhancements. Over time, we eventually became one of the largest event companies in the country until the pandemic hit. And then virtually overnight, we lost most of our staff, all of our revenue and money, and just had to rebuild from the ground up the last few years. Thankfully, I think we bounced back pretty quickly. The second time around, we knew what we were doing. So today, Toast Entertainment operates in 7 major markets with 2 more opening soon. And we service a little over 1,500 events a year, weddings and corporate events, all while staying true to our mission of trying to deliver unforgettable experiences to each one of them.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, and kudos for the bounce back because that I know that gosh, like so many of like the entertainment and hospitality restaurant businesses struggle during that time. So kudos on like bouncing back.
For years, I have a lot of anxiety, so I'm always like wondering what's the worst thing that could happen. I always thought maybe I'd get audited by the IRS or something like that, maybe sued from a past client, but no, I didn't dream big enough. It ended up worst case scenario being much worse than anything I'd ever imagined. So, but as with everybody, we survived and got through it, and now things
Definitely.
are better than ever.
Good. Well, that's so cool to hear. So I'd love to hear kind of your why, you said you started as a, DJ working in restaurants. What was it that made you want to open an entertainment company?
Um, well, I started out my degrees in music business.
Oh,
And I
okay.
moved here from Orlando to Austin in my head, I wanted to manage artists and bands and like work in the music industry. I was real excited about doing that. I had, previously DJ'd just before to, impress my friends and girls and things like that and like the nightclubs and bars. And so when I moved to Austin, I couldn't find work in my field, so I was just working at the restaurant at Outback. And
Mhm.
I was like, well, what can I do to at least get me out of here to maybe grow my other business? And so like I said, I started advertising for weddings, and then I really just fell in love with it. The people, the work mattering. Like, I've worked in call centers and, different restaurants. And if I missed the work that day, it didn't really matter. But being with somebody on like the happiest day of their life, like it was so meaningful and mattered. Plus the money was good, and it just kept coming. So I just kept going with it and growing, and I've had an amazing time with building the business up.
Oh, well, that's incredible. And I'd like to dive into kind of like where your team is at now. Like, I'm sure you have built a team around all of this that you're working on. How many team members are you at? And yet, what's your company culture?
Uh, we have more than 100 total employees and contractors out there servicing events. We're I like to say we're extremely tight knit. Most of our core managers have been with us for over 10 years. We've been really close. I've been very fortunate to keep a close group together. We're very much involved in each other's lives and families and have grown from the bottom to where we are now together. And I just love them all. We're very close. We go on trips every year to different places like Cancun, Jamaica, Costa Rica. Just we always have events and just try to stay as close as we can. I think it gives us, motivation not just to work for ourselves, but when you really care about the teammates next to you, it pushes you a little bit further.
Definitely. That's like such a golden nugget of this conversation is, having, building that tight knit team and it just shows like y'all live together, when you have that team around you. Looking at where you are headed now, you said you're opening or you're going to be in two more major markets. Can you share a bit like how did you expand in markets? Like how was that expansion process?
So I started here in Austin, and after a few years of growing it, San Antonio's fairly close. And so I thought, I can work events in Austin and San Antonio, and I'll just train DJs and other people in that market to take events. And then eventually, my best friend from when I was like in fourth grade growing up, he wanted to joined the company, and he's our COO, which is another blessing just to have somebody who's been with me for life. Like now we still get to make money together and hang out all the time. He wanted to move to Dallas, and we're like, okay. So I taught him everything we're doing in Austin and San Antonio, and then we opened up in Dallas, and then that turned out to be very successful, all the same steps. So we had Austin, San Antonio, and Dallas going. Then we expanded to Houston, just getting all the Texas markets. And then we realized we had something special here. Like it was just growing, everything was working. What could we do next to grow it? So we decided to franchise the business model.
Hmm.
And I spent all of 2019 working with lawyers and building out our standard operating procedures and the manuals and trainings and getting it really just putting the business in a box to start selling franchises. And we sold our first one February of 2020. It was the New Orleans. So 1 month later, she was completely shut down. Probably the worst time in the history of business to open an event franchise. But I told her the one real positive about our business is that you shouldn't like lose money. So if we're not having events, you're not paying people, it might not be making money. So we did collect deposits and booking fees for the future, and she kind of started obviously very slow that first year and the second year, but now she's doing 100 plus events per month too, and has really been able to take off over the last few years as well. And we put a pause on franchising for several years after because we didn't know if we were going to survive, who was going to be next. And then after last year, we realized like, okay, everything's comfortable. We're set again. Let's keep growing. And so we opened up in New York. We opened up in South Texas. We have another long-term employee who is starting her own toast entertainment, which is one of the reasons why I did this was to give my team really no ceiling. Because
Mm.
I'll tell them, if you work for me, there'll always be so much that you can make or so much I'll be willing to pay for a job. But if you were willing to see the systems and move to another market, you can open your own, and then there's no cap on what you can make, or you could even open more. So my longtime sales and customer service managers moved to Arkansas, and she's opening up Little Rock Hot Springs. Then we also have another person in our system that's going to be opening up in New York City later
Oh,
on. So that one will be one I own myself outright. It won't be another franchise location, but I'm bringing it back to really what I learned from working at Outback. They had a managing partner system where like the owner was also still part of like the corporate, but was had powers to work as a mini owner to grow the market and franchise. So we're going to try a dual system, and if that's successful, then I'll just try to keep opening them in all the different major markets across the country.
oh, you answered so many questions that I had.
No, I'm sorry if I rambled too long on one
No, it's all
question.
good. No, because I was like thinking as you were speaking, I was like, oh, I wonder if you were part of the franchises that you have as well. And so Because I'm curious about the franchise model very much. And so that's really, really incredible. And how do you find, like you said, some of them are your team members that are opening franchises. How do you find the right franchisees or right folks to open?
Well, it's a mix. Some of them came from our system and they were like really truly just talented, the best at what they do, like at the weddings, working events. Usually those people end up finding their way to our office and working in our sales and customer service teams or in behind the scenes in operations and like
Mm.
really get the full picture of the business. So I think they're, the perfect candidate because they've already seen all the work firsthand. They've known how to do it. And plus they've demonstrated to me that they're able to do it. Some of our other candidates have came from various backgrounds, though, in corporate, like our Long Island franchise owner. She had a long time as an executive at Showtime and brought a lot of different. And so I enjoy working with them as well because they bring in new ideas and fresh things that we haven't seen just inside our company, and they just help us grow and get better. So we try to find people of all kinds that are just like great fits that would be comfortable on the phone in a sales call, but then also just as comfortable at a wedding dealing with an angry mom or
Oh man.
whatever it is.
The wedding industry is one to tackle. That's incredible. So now are you primarily focused on weddings or what kind of other events are you doing?
Weddings make up the bulk of it because they're year round. People spend a ton of money on them, even when they don't have it. Like that's one thing I saw a stat, I think from the Knot, that like 80% of people go over budget for their
The-
wedding. It's just
Mine was.
um, we also target corporate, like especially, December is really flooded with like company parties. We have a lot of corporate clients that we do annually for all their different events, sometimes audio, video. We do photography for and video for tons of different corporate events. And then there's a lot of people that book us for just traditional parties, especially those that go all out for the Sweet 16s or the quinceañeras. And sometimes those can be they'll spend as much money on those parties as a wedding. And so we're just there for anywhere somebody wants to have fun, we'll be there to help.
I love it. I love it. Well, this has been fun hearing kind of like how you've built the business. Now I'd like to see kind of what you have vision for the future. So where do you see the company going in the next 3 to 5 years?
Hopefully to the moon. I like to say I tend to dream too big, or in my head, like I always like plant the vision of like if everything went perfect, this is where we would be. And then so, even if we fall a little bit short of that, we still have traveled so far. But the main goal is to continue opening up new branches, continue motivating others to grow in the system. And eventually, I hope before I retire that Toast Entertainment's across the country and is like a recognized brand in the United States for doing amazing events.
Definitely. Well, I see you definitely going that direction, and it's fun to chat about it. Looking at kind of what you're doing, like maybe some of the challenges that you're faced with currently, I love to share that transparency because, how many of us business owners are just going through it. And so what are some of the things you're challenged with right now in the company?
The challenges never stop. They just change. I like to say we're like Taylor Swift. We've been through a lot of eras. When I was starting out, I was barely making ends meet and having to sell and pawn off my stuff just to keep the rent paid and the business growing. Then it seemed like we grew so fast overnight that quality problems were popping up everywhere because it was just such a massive change from managing myself to just me and my friends to over a team of 100 people. Balls were dropped and the learning curve was steep. Then we had the pandemic wiping us out. Um, Now today's thing is tariffs. All of our business expenses are more expensive than they should be, and all of our contracts were made last year, so I can't exactly adjust the price on them now that our services are higher. It's just a never-ending management of problems. I like to say that entrepreneurship isn't the best person wins, it's the last one standing. You just have to be a zombie that's willing to just never stop moving forward with your survival because you're going to be tested every month with something new, something different, and you just have to, if you love what you do, you have to be willing to never quit and just roll with it.
100%. A really fun phrase I heard a couple of years ago from a girlfriend of mine on a podcast. She said, "You have to be as relentless as a cockroach in a nuclear war. You just will survive."
That's good. I love it.
You can't unhear it now. Well, this has been fun. I absolutely love talking to you about this. And, again, yes, there's so many challenges with business, and especially when there's a lot of moving parts and, with costs of goods fluctuating right now. So yeah, there's definitely things. But now I'd love to like go into a fun part of the conversation called our rapid fire Q&A, where I ask you 4 questions and just answer very top of mind.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. Question number 1 is, what is a key to success for you?
Consistency.
Mm, definitely.
Easy. Just setting good habits and following them daily, plus for a long time, and you'll be successful.
Definitely. Love that. Number 2 is, what is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
Kind of the same thing, just forming good habits. I feel like anyone who can change their habits daily, um, like what they do, plus just enough time, you'll be successful. A simple one-liner that I give business owners though is however many times you're following up, follow up one more, and you'll increase sales.
Yes, I'm gonna do that after this call. Thank you. Honestly, there's a couple people I need to follow up with. And then third question is, it could be a book, a podcast, an article, just any type of content that has impacted you recently.
The book Who Not How is the most impactful book I read in the last year. It really got to me to open up and expand my vision further than what I was thinking.
Definitely. I'm gonna add that one to my list. And the final question is, if you could wave a magic wand and overnight improve one aspect of your business, what would it be?
The quality, because not I don't think that we have quality problems now, but if I could, magically wave a magic wand and be instantly the greatest service ever known, then every other aspect of our business, the marketing, sales, operations would all improve in suit just because what we were actually delivering to the client was better.
Love that. Thank you so much for answering the rapid fires. Before we get to our final question, how can folks get connected with you and your business online?
ToastEnt.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at Toast Entertainment and all the other different social channels, and our emails info@toastent.com.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to stay connected. Thank you so much for being on this episode. And the last question today is, what is most inspiring to you today?
That's a good question too. So for me, I guess it's two. I have a 4-year-old son, so personally, it's kind of watching him grow and become more curious about the world and learn things. But for my business professionally, it's really watching all the people who've come up through the Toast system, whether it's DJs, photographers, planners, and just build their own successful businesses on their own or through
Mm.
franchise opportunities. I have so many people who started with us that had never worked in the industry before, grew tremendous skills, and now are six-figure owners on their own business, completely changed their lives and their futures. And I just love seeing other successes, even if I had just the smallest bit to do with it. Like I said, through their own or even through franchise opportunities for us. I just love seeing the others in the industry grow and be successful.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Walter. This has been such a great conversation. Thanks for being on the show today.
No, thank you, Kate, for having me.